Detroit Lions quarterback Jared Goff has been a player that has often been misrepresented and misunderstood in terms of when it comes to the media. However, though, over the last 2 years, the narrative surrounding him has vastly changed, and in no small part to his play and to his toughness. We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned. It started with an owner who had a last name fans despised, hiring a coach that the experts thought was crazy.
But I got a plan, I swear to you.
Who traded for a QB that was said to be washed up. They said the Detroit Lions would never amount to anything, that it would always be the same old Lions. But this team, our team, has a new identity, defined and expressed by the crazy head coach.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, I will beat your ass.
Led by the QB that nobody thought was good. Motor City Mania is in full swing and ready to start. So join the show and be prepared for kneecap biting, because Motor City Mania starts right now. Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host David T. Pike, and we're diving in right now. As always, to those that are coming back to the show, I just want to say thank you all for coming back. Thank you all for your view, your support, your patronage. Thank you all for everything that you guys do. And to those that are the newcomers to this show, I just want to say welcome in. Thank you all for giving my show a shot, and hopefully I gain your subscription if I've deserved it. And with that, to everybody, I just want to say God bless, and let's dive into the content. So here's the thing, folks. Everybody already knows this about me. I've been a staunch Jared Goff supporter. I've been a staunch Jared Goff defender. And one of the things that I've really liked about Jared Goff is how Jared Goff has continued to prove people wrong, and how Jared Goff, by his play, by his performance, by how he handles himself, has changed the narrative that surrounded him when he came here to Detroit. Excuse me. But when you think about it, Jared Goff has had rather a interesting journey, if you will, on how he's got to here. Because we have to think about it. Jared Goff's been in the NFL now for about 8 or 9 years. And if you think about it, Jared Goff has had an absolute laundry list of accomplishments, whether it's in comparison to other quarterbacks, whether it's his statistical production. I mean, Jared Goff has been one of the most productive, one of the most consistent, one of the best quarterbacks since getting into the NFL back in 2016. And when you think about it, again, I've done this before, but I keep hammering it out there. I keep putting it out there because people want to contend with me. People want to debate with me on whether or not Jared Goff is a good quarterback or not. But the point of the matter is, no matter how you want to slice it, no matter how much you want to, disagree with it, argue with it, whatever, the statistical production, his performance on the field, you cannot deny, you cannot debate how good of a quarterback he is. Because again, ever since he came in the league in 2016, these are just some of the accomplishments that Jared Goff has done. And again, I'm going to put them up on the screen if I can. If not, I do apologize. But here we go. When you take a look at Jared Goff, since 2016, he has the 7th most passing yards out of all active quarterbacks. And this whole list is going to be out of active quarterbacks. He has 28,000 passing yards. He's 8th most in passing touchdowns with 167. He has the 6th most wins out of active quarterbacks with 60. He's tied 7th with most 4 passing touchdown games with 7. He's tied 6th with most 5 passing touchdown games with 1. He's 8th most with 100-plus passer rating games with 42. He's tied first in terms of most 158.3 passer rating games. That's a perfect passer rating game. He has one of those. He's tied third in most 300-yard-plus passing yard games with 33. He's tied 6th most in most 400-yard passing games with 4. And he's tied again for first with most 500-yard passing games with 1. And out of that list of active quarterbacks, there's only 3, which includes Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, and himself. And to put it all in perspective, he's tied 3rd fastest in NFL history to reach 25,000 passing yards, and he's tied with Kurt Warner and Peyton Manning. That is a pretty substantial, list of accomplishments that Jared Goff has done just from the statistical perspective. I mean, you can't deny that every single one of those stats that I just gave, Jared Goff is in the top 10. And some of them, he's either tied for first or in the top 5. That is an impressive accomplishment list that I just gave. But it doesn't stop there with just the statistics. Think about it this way, folks. Jared Goff also holds the 3rd longest streak in NFL history with passes without an interceptions at 383 attempts. He also holds the Thursday Night Football passing record in the NFL. He holds several Lions passing records currently as well after only being with the team for 3 years. He's been to 3 Pro Bowls. He has a Super Bowl appearance, one Super Bowl appearance that only 10 other current active quarterbacks in the NFL can currently state or have been within the last, ever since he got into the league in 2016. Again, another massive accomplishment. And finally, he's been in the top 100 selection by the NFL players 3 separate times since he's come into the league. You can't argue with Jared Goff's accomplishments. You can't argue with his productivity. It's definitely there. You just have to acknowledge and recognize it rather than burying your head in the sand like an ostrich. However, though, despite all of Jared Goff's accomplishments, the narrative that Jared Goff came in with in Detroit from the Rams has been one of a completely different perspective, because you have to think about it. When the Los Angeles Rams traded him to the Lions, the narrative, the perception about him changed from this promising young great quarterback to at best a mid to average quarterback that was more considered a bridge quarterback to a younger quarterback taking over for him. So why am I talking about this again? Because I have talked about this before in different perspectives. The reason why is because a recent article that just came out from the LA Times by Sam Farmer gives new insights to what happened after Jared Goff was traded by the Los Angeles Rams to the Detroit Lions, and kind of continues to add to this transformative process of what Jared Goff was as a person, what he is as a football player, and also as a quarterback. Because let's think about this, truly, honestly think about this. Perhaps the biggest question, the biggest mystery that still persists about that whole trade is the circumstances that transpired leading right up to and after the trade. Because again, we still don't know what happened between Sean McVay and Jared Goff. We still don't know what that conversation was. We don't know the details. All we know is that it happened very fast, and it happened in the blink of an eye almost, because it kind of took everybody by surprise, most especially Jared Goff. But you have to think about this. When you take a look at that trade again, there is a very well documented, very well publicly documented criticism and tearing apart, tearing down that happened with Jared Goff from his former head coach of Sean McVay. So if you think about it, that whole process that started up to the trade is very well known, it's very well understood. Now, you have to think about the whole timeline that happened up until the trade happened, because you have to go back to 2020 to kind of get how quickly this whole thing transpired. In November of 2020, there was pretty much when that last game happened, that pretty much where Jared Goff kind of had a really bad game and Sean McVay really started opening up even more criticism, until when Jared Goff got traded on January 3rd of 2021, you were talking about a process where a lot of reporters were asking the Rams organization, their coaches, especially Sean McVay and Les Snead, the GM, about Jared Goff's long-term job security, his future with the team. So what you're talking about there is a period of literally only 3 months about how quickly Jared Goff went from being, okay, he's still the quarterback of the Rams, to he's pretty much now being fired. That's what pretty much happened. The Rams fired Jared Goff by trading him and said, we're going to replace you with freaking Matthew Stafford. And that's nothing against Stafford. I'm just using that as the primary example, trying to give you guys the comparative analysis here. So, 3 months. That's how quickly this whole thing transpired. Now, when you think about it, how much criticism, how much freaking, I guess the best way to put it would be humiliation and embarrassment Jared Goff got from freaking his head coach and GM, because they constantly were criticizing him because of how he was playing. And that's not to say Jared Goff didn't deserve the criticism, but doing so publicly is rather different than doing so privately in the confines of an office. Because again, we've heard reports that it happened freaking in the locker room in front of the players. Obviously, we saw the freaking reports where Sean McVay and Les Snead were pretty much saying, yeah, he's our quarterback for right now. pretty much saying, listen, we don't really have a whole lot of confidence in him. And the public criticism is one of those things where for players, it's really something that shakes confidence. But you have to think about this. For all of the mistreatment, for all of the embarrassing and humiliating things that Jared Goff had to go through at the hands of Sean McVay and Les Snead, you have to think about this. Most people, when they get treated like that, they do not want to have any further interaction with the person or organization that did that to them. But yet, when you take a look at this article I'm referring to in the LA Times by Sam Farmer, he says that after Goff found out about the whole trade, after he found out about everything, all he wanted to do was to have an exit meeting or interview with Sean McVay. Now, let me ask you this. If somebody is publicly tearing you down and pretty much throwing you under the bus and saying you're, well, a piece of crap, are you really going to want to sit in a room with them and listen to further why you got pretty much fired? Most people are not going to do that. But yet, according to Farmer, he had an interview or talked to former Rams tackle Andrew Whitworth, and pretty much what Whitworth stated was that Goff told him that he wanted to have that exit interview. He wanted to have that exit meeting. It was a top priority for him. And what Andrew Whitworth said was this. He said, I'm like, wait, what? And he's saying that Goff is like, I told Sean I still want to do our exit meeting. And I was like, you're crazy. This is Whitworth telling this to Goff. He's like, why would you want to have an exit? And Goff said to him, I want him to tell me right to my face what I did wrong. I want to hear it from him. How do I get better? And what Whitworth was saying is that he wanted closure. Now, think about this for a minute, folks. Pretty much what Goff was stating is that regardless of what had transpired up to that point, regardless of everything else that had been said, he still wanted to sit down with Sean McVay and be like, okay, what exactly did I do wrong? What exactly got me to this point to where I'm being traded and in essence being fired by you? I know that being fired sounds a little bit more negative, but let's be honest here. Let's be straightforward and 100%. When you get traded by an organization that only 2 years prior had given you a massive contract, you're being fired. That's what happens. So, the fact that Jared Goff, regardless of what had happened up until that point, still wanted to sit in a room with Sean McVay and be like, listen, what did I do wrong? Tell me what I can do to get better. That shows not only a huge sense of maturity from Jared Goff, but it shows an immense amount of mental and emotional toughness that some players just simply do not have. And you have to think about it. After Jared Goff got traded, sitting down in that exit interview, that exit meeting, that mental toughness, that emotional toughness that he exhibited in that meeting only got further sorely tested after he got to Detroit. Because you have to think about it. When Jared Goff got to Detroit, there were very few Lions fans that were happy getting him. They were like, okay, this guy's just here for a year or two and then we're getting rid of him. His contract is too big. We don't like him. He's not up to the current state of the game with being a mobile quarterback. Just all this nonsense that persisted for several months to a year and a half about what Jared Goff was or was not. And you have to think about it. This whole thing came out with freaking fans that were wanting freaking Brad Holmes to draft a replacement quarterback. For the first 2 years that Jared Goff was here, all you could hear about on most social media platforms, on YouTube channels, was that there were a lot of people that said, draft a replacement quarterback to replace Jared Goff. Let's get off of him as quickly as possible. So that's the first thing that was, testing Goff's mental and emotional toughness. Then you have to think about this. Anytime the team lost, almost everybody wanted to say, oh, it's Jared Goff's fault. Jared Goff is the reason that the Lions cannot win or the reason why the Lions lose. So furthermore, getting that criticism from fans, and then to add further, the media saying that he was just a mid or average quarterback or a bridge quarterback. Again, Woodward Sports pushed that narrative for so freaking long, and now they're trying to cover it up like saying, well, we never really said that. We always thought Jared Goff. No, you didn't. The record is still out there. The videos still exist. You all thought that Jared Goff was a bridge quarterback. I've heard it, I've seen it, and you know exactly who I'm referring to particularly. And then finally, you have the negative and false narratives and connotations about Goff, about the fact, hey, he's not the strongest quarterback in the NFL. He's a noodle arm quarterback. He's soft. He's not tough. He can't win without Sean McVay. All of these false narratives and ideas that pretty much were about Goff, and none of them were true. So, when you think about that, the emotional and mental toughness that Jared Goff exhibited is clearly out there to see. But the one thing that most people continually forget about Jared Goff is how physically tough he is. He may not be the most physically dominating player in terms of speed or anything else or attributes of that nature, but his physical toughness you can't deny, you can't debate, you can't argue. Because think about this. Goff, in the 8 years that he's been in the NFL, has only missed 7 games. To do that, you have to have extreme durability. You have to be extremely tough. And if you think about it, of those 7 games, only 3 of them he's missed with the Lions. Out of, I think it's like 42 or 43 games, he's been in 39 of them. And let's be fair and honest, Jared Goff has taken his fair share of licks. It's not like he's just been a pampered quarterback back there and he never gets hit. That does happen at times. And this has happened while Goff has battled for various injuries. Again, if you go back to his time with the Rams, he played in a playoff game after having thumb surgery on his dominant throwing hand only a week prior. So again, that shows physical toughness. If you go back to 2021, he had a bone bruise in his knee that he played through for the last couple of games of the year because he did not want to miss those games. And again, Goff has actually stated this. He said, specifically, Goff said this. He's like, you're not getting me off the field unless I can't move or function. I owe it to my guys. I owe it to my team. We trust each other. Again, you're talking about a quarterback that is fully invested in the ideology of team first. And he wants to be out there with his guys. Not necessarily because it's like, oh, well, it's my job. I want to be out there because I have to be out there because I'm the starting quarterback. No, it's like, listen, I don't want to let my guys down. I don't want to let my teammates down. I need to be out there, and unless I'm broke, I'm not going to not be out there. So again, you're talking about the mental toughness, the emotional toughness, the physical toughness that Jared Goff has, something that a lot of people do not give Jared Goff nearly enough credit for. So the point is, once again, that the perception of Goff has been vastly skewed and incorrectly portrayed. And again, I always go back for my notes. I always go back for my freaking receipts here because, again, Brad Holmes is the GM of the Detroit Lions. Pretty much anything he says about a player is pretty much the way he feels, and that's what's going to be the case for that player until something new comes out. And the one thing we've heard about Goff from Brad Holmes several times is that he wanted Jared Goff, that Jared Goff was his quarterback, that he was not just the throw-in. Case in point, go back to this quote right here. Brad Holmes said this. He said, the narrative when he's referring to Jared Goff, got here in Detroit was a little skewed. People thought he was a throw-in because of his contract. That was not the case. There were other QBs who were on the carousel that year. And Les Snead and I had a conversation specifically of, do you want Jared in the deal? And Brad Holmes said, I was like, absolutely. Think about it. Because everybody that was in the Lions media circle when Jared Goff got here all said that the reason why the Lions had to take him was because the Rams did not want to deal with his contract. So they just threw him in to get rid of him, dropped him, and dumped his contract off on the Lions. That was not the case. Brad Holmes has said it time and time again. The narrative about Jared Goff being a bridge quarterback is lazy narrative. He's talked about how the fact that the Lions wanted him, how the Lions were going to build a team around him, about how Jared Goff he thought was still a good quarterback, and that people thought that he was a bridge quarterback was just, again, like I said, a lazy thought process. So again, the point I'm trying to get here is this, with this new article that shows about Jared Goff's toughness and also, again, about the Lions' commitment to Jared Goff is simply this. The point is that Goff, this whole thought process, that Jared Goff is timid, he's soft, he's a bridge quarterback, that you know what, the Lions are just waiting for Hendon Hooker to come back to get rid of him, or that the Lions should trade him so that way Hendon Hooker can start right away. There is absolutely no truth in this. Because again, for me, the traits and characteristics that people are saying about Goff, some of them still to this day, or some people have continued to insinuate from back when he first got here, those are the exact opposite traits of what Jared Goff actually exhibits. He is a very tough, he is a very gritty, he is a hardworking leader of this team who is a top quarterback. Brad Holmes has said so, Dan Campbell has said so, and even the players of the NFL have said so. Again, he was voted number 66 on the top 100 players last year. You do not get on that list unless you've earned the respect of the players that are in the league. So again, it's not just Brad Holmes, it's not just Dan Campbell, it's not just me, it's also the players that he's gone up against are like, yes, this guy is a top player in the NFL. You have to give him his respect. And as far as I'm concerned, if you were to ask anybody in that Lions organization, all the way from the top on down, they would say, yes, we are fortunate, we are excited, we are happy that we have Jared Goff as our quarterback. So for me, again, the whole point is you're talking about a quarterback that, as the title says, he is tough as nails. And again, he has gone from this ideology, this narrative, this perception that he is a zero, that he's a mid quarterback, he's a nobody, to now, hey, Jared Goff might actually become the hero of Detroit, winning them a playoff game, something they have not done in 30 plus years. I'm telling you this right now. If Jared Goff and the Lions win a playoff game, Jared Goff is going to become one of the best quarterbacks in Lions history because he'll have done something that not even Matthew Stafford could do. But again, trying to wrap this whole thing up, I just want to keep saying this as often as I can until either Jared Goff retires, he leaves the Lions, or whatever the case is. Jared Goff is a top quarterback. You may not like it. You may not like me saying it again and again, but the facts are irrefutable. You cannot deny them. So, with that having been said, I just want to say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode I got coming out. I also encourage y'all please to do this: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you've subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not had a chance to do so, again, I want to highly encourage y'all please to subscribe to the channel. It helps me out. But I also encourage y'all please make sure you hit that bell notification icon as well at the bottom of the page, so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Again, subscription numbers are always going up, but I want to make sure you guys have that bell notification turned on, so that way when I push something out, you never miss it. You can come back in, we can continue to have really great discussions. To further get those great discussions going on, I also encourage y'all please share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere that you can with anybody and everybody that you can. And with that, folks, I just want to again say thank you all for tuning into the show. Thank you all for your view, your support, your patronage. Hopefully I gained your subscription if I hadn't already. And with that having been said, I just want to say again, God bless. Thank you all for your time. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.